you're doing. And listen to AlphaMale.
What's happening? What's happening, everybody? It is me. He is I, and I am him. I am he that they call the Alpha Male. Welcome back to AlphaMale Sports. And got a familiar face today. Got a very familiar face. Jamie Walker, Coach Dub. If you want to check him out on Instagram, Facebook, and all that other good stuff, Twitter. Let me get my camera set up real quick. But Coach Dub is in the building, man, and I'm excited because a couple of days ago, I put out a story. Well, not even a story, but I gave my insight on what I felt was appropriate for the Jackson State situation and Coach Prime moving on to Colorado and things of that such. And got a couple folks had some things to say, and back and forth and stuff. And so I felt like it was appropriate to bring on somebody who has not only covered Jackson State, but he's covered Black college football since I can remember, since I've met the guy. And I just want to go ahead and bring him on today because it's a big weekend. It's the start of the college football bowl season. The Black National Championship, the Black College National Championship will be this weekend between Jackson State and North Carolina Central University. But before I even get into any of that, let me finish introducing my partner for today, Coach Dub. What's the word, man? How you feeling today, sir?
What's going on, Doc? How you feeling?
Pretty good, Coach. So with all that being said, with the whole just with Jackson State and the just everything that's been going on with Coach Prime and stuff like that, like if you could sum this up into one word, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Unfulfilled.
Okay. And I like that. Let's keep it at that because I think there's a lot to expound off of that. But before we go any further, Coach, it feels like we've done this before. Okay. It feels like you and I have done this dance before. And I want to give you guys just a quick second to just take a listen. How in the world do we get more notoriety for these HBCUs?
Well, wow. That's a deep conversation that we can talk about integration in that light, but that's for another day.
Right.
Because you can see, and it kind of goes with the sports room as well, as those institutions became more prevalent and they started to let a lot of us in, so was the notion that HBCUs to some degree weren't good enough. And even to some degree, measuring facilities, they are not the same. I will tell you that because the money's not the same. The money's simply not the same. And exactly. So you to go to an HBCU.
So here we are with that. 2 years later, here we are again. And it seems like Jackson State is the hottest football team in all of college football. Let's just keep it a buck. HBCU football is at an all-time high being played on ESPN, ESPNU, ESPN2, ESPN3. You have even covered some of those games on ESPN, color analyst work. So there have been opportunities for Black people as far as analysts and things of that such. All these things have happened. And then the bottom falls out and Coach Prime leaves. And you said the perfect word, unfulfilled. How did we get here?
I think we got here based on Coach Prime's goals. Ultimately, his goal was not to necessarily be in Black college football. I think, and some stories have come out in regards to that. HBCUs weren't his first choice, but I think the AD of Jackson State, Ashley Robinson, who's done a phenomenal job, really not just at Jackson State, but at multiple schools, reached out. And it was a matter of them dialoguing and talking about this opportunity for Coach Sanders. And he came in guns blazing, as he does everywhere he's ever been. It's always been the fanfare, but I think
he carries a crowd with him for sure.
Absolutely. And he does a phenomenal job in controlling the narrative when it comes to him and his appearance. And I think a lot of times when he comes in, Although he appears to be transparent, and he is the majority of the time, there is an ulterior goal as well. And I think his goal ultimately was to be in a Power 5 conference. You have to understand, he wanted the Florida State job when it was open. It was given to Mike Norvell.
That was when it was given, not when it was given to Taggart?
No, when it was given to Mike Norvell.
Okay.
He wanted Willie to have it. Matter of fact, he wanted to be on Willie's staff. But Willie was in and out of there so quick that happened, and he lobbied for it after that.
He was there for like 6 games that year, something like that almost.
Yeah, it's crazy. In that second year, yeah. He wanted and was tied into the Arkansas job, and he never got it. Ultimately, Sam Pittman got that position. So, Deion didn't have, although he went to Florida State, didn't have a college degree. So he ended up at Talladega College, where he finished up his college work.
Another
and then you
HBCU.
could kind of see, yes, it was. So HBCUs have been assisting Coach Prime for quite a while. Even in his days that, his first wife was a Florida A&M alum. So he was over there a lot. He had seen the structure of HBCU, so he kind of knew what the.
But Florida A&M and Florida State are like next door. It's exactly. Like Allen and Benedict College. It's literally right. It's like right next door to each other.
Exactly. So you kind of couldn't just help but be in those circles. But he wanted to be at a Power 5 job, and so he went through the process of learning what that was, what he had to do, things of that nature. And Jackson State gave him the opportunity to be able to coach at an FCS school without being anyone's assistant. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that was part of it. He didn't want to be anybody's assistant. I can tell. I think outside of Coach Taggart to that degree. Yeah. But I mean, and that's understandable. Again, as we know or have known Coach Prime to be is somewhat the life of the party, or he carries a caravan of people with him. With that, and his decision to leave, and he said it himself, I'm bringing my luggage with me. So some of you guys can enter the portal. And what was interesting, and I want to point this out, when he had his 2 individual meetings, the meetings with the players at Jackson, the meetings with the players over at Colorado, it was 2 totally different conversations. With the guys at Jackson, he was telling some of them, don't jump in the portal. Don't try to chase something else because you'll end up being lost. Whereas he goes to Colorado and tells those kids, you might want to jump in the portal because I'm bringing my luggage with me. Now, with all that, we see a lot of decommitments from Jackson. Kids saying, I'm pulling myself, or I choose not to be there. But we look again, and there's still 2-star, 3-star, 4-star students that are deciding to go. Florida A&M had even said, you know what? They put out a campaign, if you will, showing the players that went D1. Well, it's all Division I, but went Power 5 and then transferred down to the FCS division, and they showed the benefits and why they went. We are in a situation now. We talked about this 2 years ago, Coach. We talked about this, where first off, what we have to do to get the notoriety? We got the notoriety. Then we said, what are we going to do with the notoriety? You see what's been happening. Quality football week in and week out for millions of people to see on ESPN. Now that we have all of these things lined up and Coach Prime leaves, do you think we have the infrastructure, if you will, to continue pushing this forward?
I think you have a better model and blueprint now that Coach Prime has been in and subsequently back out, but it's still not going to look the same. And what I mean by that is Deion Sanders is one of one. I need people to understand that. So anybody that you bring in, even if they are ex-football players that are famous that you know, Deion Sanders has been the self-promoting guru for 30 years. And you have to understand that he is one of one. He has been able to create a buzz for himself throughout decades. You have to think about, he hadn't played football in 15 years. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. That's it? Just 15?
If I'm not mistaken, it's 15. And so he has managed to keep himself in the limelight despite not playing an active sport in that long. So him being in media with the NFL Network, the commercials, the things that he endorses, and just his personality. He's been able to manage to do that. So when he and that personality lands on the HBCU, yeah, it's going to be a buzz. Yes, people want to donate. Yes, people are going to want to be a part of it. But what he also did, and give him credit for this, he also brought a business savvy to Jackson State University and the SWAC conference in general. There were certain things that people didn't like traditionally that people always did and schools always was a part of. And Deion said, no, this doesn't make any sense for us to be in. So he brought the business savvy, the business savvy to HBCUs and Jackson State in particular. He helped Jackson State. Now, I think him coming in with the fanfare and the way he came in and then invoking God, vision into Southern folks, it does something different. But like the salesman he is, we were all suckered in. We were all hook, line, and sinker.
And that's so. And so in my post that I did a few days ago, that's where I was. I'm not mad, but I'm definitely not. I'm not necessarily gonna say that this was the best decision. And of course, I can't say what he should or shouldn't have done. This is his decision. It's his life. This is not up for debate. But the thing is, like you said, when you bring in God, like he said it, God called me collect, and I answered the charges. You don't know how many grandmothers got excited when you said that, Deion. Like, you gotta. That's where people are upset, and I think today during the press conference at the Crlebration Bowl, he did say, well, I didn't intend on having my tombstone set at Jackson. I wasn't going to die there. We know that as well, Coach Prime. But what we are trying to explain to you is that you definitely sold us a bill of goods in that regard. But going back, and I want to steer it back to the blueprint, because you still have Hugh Jackson down at Grambling. You still have Eddie George at Tennessee State. Still got Mo Williams over on the basketball staff or the head coach of the basketball team at Jackson State. What I'm saying is, if there are any other pro athletes or any athletes that are prominent, there was rumors to say that Ray Lewis was going to be coaching at some HBCU. I'm not going to say which one, but there was even rumors of that. We understand that Deion is one of one, but I'm sorry, you'd be foolish to say, nah, I'm good, Ray Lewis. I don't think I want to. Still the same. I'm good, Hugh Jackson. You coach for the Browns. Y'all did. Who can say that? That's connections? That's the main focus. The main focus should remain the main focus, is getting to the next level. And if you can show somebody, or if a coach can say, you know what, I can plant myself at this HBCU and find roses in the concrete. How is it that, like, is that not a viable enough blueprint to where we can push this thing forward? It might not get to what we thought it would, but it can at least get to another level from here.
It absolutely can. I think what you learn within the Coach Prime experience is that we need to, number one, fortify what we have as far as facility, as far as people, and just as far as what we do from an athletic standpoint and athletic business standpoint. Because we can't. I think Coach Prime came in and said, some of these traditions that we do have are great and all, but it's not making you any money.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about it not having enough money to be, and I'm not saying you're going to ever compete with Power 5 facility wise. That's not going to happen. Different kinds of money. It's just different kinds of money.
For sure.
But to be self-sufficient, I think there are some things that we need to engage in that would make us better. Better media deals. Better.
Well, let's go back to the facilities thing, because I want to stick to that for just a split second, because I think you got a good list of stuff. But right there, there was someone on Twitter, and I think you and I both followed this young lady, where she was faced with someone talking about that, saying, and it wasn't in necessarily a constructive way like we're speaking of it, but more of a derogatory way, saying like, oh, facilities is trash, whatever. And she just said, okay, hold my purse. Prairie View A&M, Benedict College, Edward, like even from the D2 to the D3, you know what I'm saying, and even up to Division 1, where you have your Alabama and Alabama states, your Jackson states, those bigger schools, is getting to a point like they're starting. I think again, it's starting to. If you see where I'm going here, it's starting to trickle downhill. Everything is starting to, I would hope that things are starting to formulate into that, where it might not necessarily be Alabama, but I know that I got a cold tub. I know that I got good trainers that can help me through situations or through injuries. I know that I have viable workout equipment, that I know that I could build myself and become a bigger player or a better player in years to come, or my development grows.
Absolutely. I think when you get those kind of facilities where you're able to adequately, because I think as a student and as an athlete coming into a school, you can gauge what the school has. Like, what's coming in. You know that I'll take my alma mater, for example. North Carolina A&T is not Alabama. You know what I'm saying? You know that going in. But if you have the adequate equipment and facilities enough to be able to foster, athletic prowess, everybody's not gonna have a certain stuff, a cryogenic machine, or whatever, and what have you. But
right,
you have what's adequate enough to be able to get to that next level, or just be able to improve, then you're good. Now, if you're lacking stuff.
Then they drew me in with the stadium. They had me with the stadium. Yeah. That was my. I think. The second or third year they literally just built it. It's not to where it was now, but they took me into the box, still smell like fresh carpet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was completely new to me. And I was like, okay, it's not UGA, it's not Florida State, but doggone it, it's mine. And I like it, Exactly. And so that's where we are. And I agree. Having the adequate facilities or just the resources to advance and be better.
Absolutely. And speaking of Benedict, man, they had a phenomenal year in football, man.
I can't help it, man. I'm listen here, man. Look here. Look here. Me and my wife, we went for homecoming, and great experience. The band was awesome. The crowd just that gave me chills, because even as a player, that was something I didn't experience. So to be back and to see my alma mater like that, it was gold. And even having the opportunity to talk with Coach Kenneth Berry, I had a chance to speak with him at my other place of employment, where we interviewed him, and he was a respectable man and just stood up for what it was. He said, "I'm here to handle business, and that's what we plan on doing." And dadgummit if he didn't do it, man. And shouts out to you. Kudos to you for covering the game. I was sitting here like, that's my dog. That's my dog. You and Jarvis Davis, man.
Yeah, man. Calling the games, man. It's you know what I'm saying? It's quite an experience doing that, man. And like I said, we're lucky. The SIAC and ESPN lets us really dig into and really cover those games like they're supposed to. I think when you are given a leeway to be able to be authentically HBCU, it gives it a different type of feel when it comes to the games, because it's a different experience. It just is. Not to say it's a bad experience, it's just different.
So with that, what has the response been like? Either it being like from do you get to know what the viewership is? Do you go research that viewership, or do you just get a whole bunch of DMs and text messages and Facebook messages about how we just see my uncle, my cousin on Instagram, on ESPN?
A little bit of both, man. A little bit of both. We get numbers and things of that nature. And the SIAC does what it will with those when it comes to just their business dealings, because you have to understand when it comes to ESPN in general, yes, they have a deal. Yes, they have certain things in line, but they also pick games every year to be able to host. So depending on what goes on, what are featured games, what are the people into, things of that nature. So yeah, man, it's a lot of analytical things that go into how they choose and select games.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is AlphaMale Sports. You are listening to AlphaMale Sports. I am the AlphaMale, sitting here with Coach Dub. aka Jamie Walker. I always lead off with Coach Dub because that's just, I don't know, that's just a hard name, Coach Dub. Coach Dub. But now we are here. Saturday, Celebration Bowl, Jackson State, North Carolina Central University. And this looks like, again, this looks a little eerie. This looks a little similar to what last year was. God forbid Coach Prime goes out of this without a championship. But at this point, he has to win it, or all of this was for nothing. What is your take on tomorrow's game?
I think it does have some eerie similarities. But I think they are a little more focused this year. Primarily because they're trying to transition. You have one outgoing coach and staff and an incoming one really in the same mix, but they've been in distractions all year. You know, when it comes to that team, you have to understand how, unlike, even when it comes to coaching and setting up your teams, you want the least distractions possible. But they always have cameras around. Somebody's always filming.
It's his son. It's his son. It's Deion Sanders Jr. And he's enjoying I love those videos, by the way.
Absolutely. They do a phenomenal job with that. But I think they have a little bit better concentration now going into this game. But what I will say is North Carolina Central is a formidable opponent. They are to give Jackson State the championship easy. I will say that. You know, they'll come in. They have their own, offense, defense. You know, they have defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year. They've done phenomenal in the MEAC all year, with the exception of a little blip to South Carolina State. But otherwise, man, they played their game all year. Jackson State comes in definitely probably the most, I would say talented overall. From top to bottom, but North Carolina Central comes in as a solid football team and has been really playing well all year. They've had the month off to be able to see who they're playing, which some people call it an advantage, some people don't. It just all depends. But I think they come into this game with a lot of confidence. Quality quarterback with Davius Richard, running backs, receivers coming in with a pretty good stout defense, especially in the second
the matchup at quarterback is uncanny. When I saw that, I went online and looked that up, and I said, "Wait a damn minute! These are the exact same people. Why is this kid not getting any recognition or view?" Anywho, please continue.
Absolutely. No, I think you're exactly right. When you look at both of these quarterbacks, Shedeur Sanders, it'll be interesting to see how he is because he does have 1 foot in Colorado and 1 foot in Jackson. And so when you
and that's where I was wondering his mental, because he can, it seems like he can kind of space out a little bit, especially if things are going bad.
Absolutely. And if the game plan breaks down, it'll make me wonder exactly where his head is as far as the game is concerned. But they've been gamers all year. They've done a phenomenal job offensively. I think the concentration for them on offense, this particular game, just because of the style of defense that Central runs, is Savion Wilkerson will be the focal point of this game, which is Jackson State's running back. Transfer.
So we're going to focus on a big run game from both teams, to be honest. Correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think even though Jackson State is more of an air raid system or air raid concept system, where they throw the ball around a lot, short passing game. They don't really hit you deep, but they have enough receivers that can definitely run after the catch. And Willie Gaines, you have Dallas Daniels and several others who can absolutely, run after the catch. But Savion Wilkerson has been proved, I think, besides Shedeur Sanders, to be the focal point of their offense. Probably that person who kind of separates their offense from the others in the SWAC, just because they have the ability to run downhill and also throw the ball. So it's interesting in that way.
There was a game there. And I want to be clear on which game that I saw. Let me go into my nifty. Let me go into my little nifty Rolodex here of information. But there was a game where Jackson actually had to rely on the run game, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the which opponent was it? Yeah, I think it was Alcorn, the Alcorn State game. Yeah, they had to rely because there were turnovers offensively that was done by Shedeur Sanders, fumble, I think an interception as well. And at a certain point, they had to put it into the running back's hands. And so with that makes sense for going into this game, how things are going to basically play out. But I want to point something out, Coach. And I was looking at the history of the Crlebration Bowl. It's only 5.5, 6 years old or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So far, the MEAC completely owns the Crlebration Bowl. The Aggies winning 3 times?
That would be 4
times. 4 times? Jesus. In 2017, what is it? Yeah, 2015, 2015, 17, 18. What was that for?
And 19.
And 19.
Mm-hmm. They didn't play in 20.
Okay, that's right. They didn't play in 20, but after that, but 2021 was South Carolina State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do we fix this? Only Grambling was the only one to win it,
and Grambling barely won that one.
So tell me this, because it would have. I'll say this. Let's say if Prime didn't go to Jackson. Let's say he went to, I don't know. Well, give me a MEAC, a SWAC. Let's say he went to Norfolk. Let's say he went to Norfolk State, right?
Okay.
And he coached there at Norfolk State. Do you believe that he would have had the same success in the MEAC as he did in the SWAC?
Outstanding question.
I don't think so.
The pedigree of Jackson State, and people think Jackson State just appeared here. I don't think people understand how many NFL Hall of Famers, how many Black College national championships that squad has. So Jackson State has been here. It's not, Prime kind of rewrited the ship, but they've been in contention a long time. To answer your question, probably not. I don't think it does have the same cachet at being at Norfolk State. I don't think it, recruits, are the same. And, and it's always like I told somebody.
And not to be specific, and I was going to say not to be hard on specific about Norfolk State, but just as far as because I'm looking at this and it just the way that South Carolina State ran over Jackson State last year, the way that when you look at the replays, Tariq Cohen just mollywopping the opposition, going up against Alcorn multiple years and Alcorn just not being able to get over the hump.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, I sound like Killmonger. Is this your king? SWAC, is this your king? It's just, I don't know.
The SWAC is a proud conference.
Sure.
I'll always say that. And I love the football and the camaraderie and the rivalries and just the traditions they have. But I think in this game, there's some things that can be adjusted. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this on a certain level, but I think the football itself is different between the MEAC and SWAC. I think while, the SWAC, throws that thing around the yard and you're going to get some high flyers, you're going to get some quarterbacks that are really, really, phenomenal athletes.
Right.
In the MEAC, you're going to run that thing downhill. You got to think about where you are. You're in the mid-Atlantic where it snows and you got to, the weather, isn't so good.
You got rain. You're on the coastline.
Exactly.
South Carolina State might get a hurricane every now and again.
You know what I'm saying?
You could, yeah.
Exactly. It's things of that nature. So I think it's a little bit different kind of football. But not to say that is the reason that the SWAC hadn't come up, hadn't been, more successful within the game. But I think it's just a matter of those matchups and when they happen. And I think it may say something that the MEAC has such a long time because that SWAC grind, especially at the end, you got to get to the championship game.
It's a tough trek.
Later, you got to play in the Crlebration Bowl. That is tough sledding coming into that game.
So say it here. Because I know you got a busy day today and a busy day tomorrow.
I do.
Who you call? Jackson or North Carolina Central?
Man, I'm an
For
old
the upset.
MEAC. I'm an old MEAC guy, and I told some people I think Central wins 35-31, but I'm teetering back and forth. I hadn't checked the I don't know how much gambling people do, but what the line is. The line was originally Jackson State by 60. It was 16.5. And I said people are crazy. That's easy money to me.
I'm about to say you get rich. You just cover the spread, right?
And I'm like, okay, they're not gonna beat them. I don't believe that. So I'm going back and forth with my picks. Central is a proud team, and they've done everything that I did not expect them to do, including beating North Carolina A&T in the beginning of the year.
Beginning of the season, yep.
And so I think they ride this wave. I think the distractions will be a little bit too much. And I think North Carolina Central wins 35-31 is my score.
Okay. All right. You hear it here first. Coach Dub, aka Jamie Walker, in the building on AlphaMale Sports. And I'm with it. I like the pick. On the other hand, and you can I like to tell it to the guys at the barbershop, my brother's barbershop, Boulder Crest Flat Shows, if you ever want to get a cut. The fellas there, they like to rag me because I like the storylines. I love the storylines. I always tell my lady friends and my wife, I'm like, hey, if you guys, y'all want some drama, y'all want some crazy storylines, go watch some sports. Go watch some sports. Skip and Shannon just gave you a whole Nene Leakes blow up last week. So, go watch some sports. But this is going to be a crazy weekend. A lot of college football going crazy, man. I am excited. I'm glad that Coach Dub was able to come through and bless me. Before you go, this ain't got to be a long thing, but what would it look like? And I think we're on something here with this prediction thing. I might have to get like a crystal ball or something. But what would it look like if we could formulate a core four? A core four. A MEAC, SWAC, CIAA, and the SIAC. And the SIAC. Those four. Because I think at this point, I mean, if we can level out the playing field proverbially, what would it look like if a Benedict and Florida A&M meet in the in the Black College National Championship? What would it look like for a Tuskegee and an Alabama State to meet again?
There are certain aspects of it that I would love. Of course, the scholarship issues would be, the only stumbling block, but I would love for that to happen, man. I would absolutely love for that to happen.
I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know what time it is. It's me. He is I, and I am him. I'm he that they call the Alpha Male. Appreciate it, Coach Dub. I'm picking Jackson State. We'll see. I'll tap back in with you, sir.
All right, man. And I appreciate everything.
Thank you, man. God bless.
The Alpha Male.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Man, no problem, man. We'll talk later.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely got to talk later, for sure.
All right, man.
All right, Doc. Peace.
Peace.